From toxic masculinity to the problems and pitfalls of white privilege, colleges spent this year rewriting labels for millennial minds. Here's what Masha Tupitsyn, a professor at the New School, told me about male melancholia. What is toxic masculinity, first of all?
I would say there are different ways to describe it, but the way that I refer to it is to think about toxic masculinity as when masculinity has to kind of abuse its power in order to function.
How would I demonstrate on a day-to-day basis toxic masculinity?
Well, I think that's a complicated question, but on a daily basis, it would be in your relationships with other people and your relationships with women in the workplace and the way that you relate to your own power in the workplace.
Just by being a jerk and offensive and imposing my will on other people.
Yeah, or even negotiating that imposition of will on other people, right? This idea that you have to kind of stoke my ego or behave a certain way to get ahead.
Okay, so white masculinity is now a problem. There's a downfall among white males. How so?
Well, I'm not saying that there's a downfall. I don't think there's a loss of power, although men are always lamenting their loss of power.
How are we doing
well, this constant idea, even someone like President Trump, who's always lamenting sort of the good old days, or a show like Mad Men, which is always focusing on this kind of loss of supremacy that men once held. So that narrative has been going on.
So when Donald Trump says, "Make America great again," what is he trying to say? That we want to return to the good old days where white men ruled the earth?
Yeah, and still rule the earth, but that's being destabilized. And so there's this constant kind of narrative of mourning and loss about what's been lost. But what really needs to happen...
But couldn't the president just be saying, well, I want to go back to the 80s, where the economy was roaring and we were doing great?
And when he was the king.
Couldn't that be what he's saying? Maybe not.
But either way, it's self-referential.
White males, maybe more about let's go back to when America was strong and powerful and the economy was great.
And it was a patriarchy that no one questioned.
But but you don't know when Trump says "Make America Great Again." He's talking about wanting to bring back. Now we're having a
conversation about mind reading as opposed to interpretation.
No, but you brought up that he wanted to go back to those days.
Because these are very old narratives, and they don't just refer to national politics. National politics also consists of race and class and gender. It's a kind of package deal, right? When you're talking about nation building, you're talking about a lot of other multidimensional things.
Okay, well, listen, I did not take that from what the president said when he uses that slogan. I guess you're interpreting it
just to discuss his slogan.
Right. So what do white men need to do in America now? How can we improve, in your opinion?
Well, to me, the crisis is really about this lack of responsibility and this lack of self-interrogation, right? That's really what, etymologically, the root of crisis means this point at which change must come.
But what do you
mean? Either the change can come or it won't, but what needs to happen is that men start doing some of the work and interrogation around masculinity as opposed to all these other sort of special interest groups.
Okay, so let's just take it step by step. I'm a man. I'm a white man. What do I need to ask myself, or what do I need to address internally about my white male?
Well, I would say two things to start with. So one is, what kind of privileges have I inherited because of my whiteness and my straight masculinity, let's say.
White privilege.
White privilege, but it also has to do with masculinity. So I would ask, and we all have to ask that question. What privileges do we come into the world with, and do we abuse those privileges?
Okay, so you want white men, I'll just take a step back. You want white men to recognize that they have certain advantages by being born a white straight male.
Yes, that they use.
And they want, and I, as a white straight male, should be more conscious of my privileges when I go and walk around in everyday society.
You should be, but most likely you won't be because you don't have to.
I walk into a bar as a straight white male. Am I being too confident when I walk into the bar?
Well, I don't know
should I go in a more humble way?
I just know that men can behave a certain way in public settings and in bars that is different from women. This is the case for everyone, right? There are codes that we're all following. Even if we just go to work and we don't behave a certain way.
I can be loud and obnoxious, and I can buy people drinks,
aggressive,
and I can flirt with people. Is that what you're saying? And women can't do that?
Well, they might do it, but they pay a different price for that. Okay. Even just on the level of, you might not be seen as someone desperate if you're a single man that walks into a bar. Right. Whereas if a woman walks into a bar and she's single, that is perceived as a very different kind of social gesture.
And then lastly, what was the other question I'm supposed to ask myself as a straight white man?
Well, you've interrupted me so many times that now I can't remember.
I guess that's probably my toxic masculinity.
Probably.